Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Jessica Stutzman. The United States Census first began in 1790, with Thomas Jefferson leading the charge over 230 years ago. While census takers today may not be counting households on horseback and on foot, the importance of accuracy remains the same. Joining us today to answer all of our questions regarding the 2020 census is Michelle Jagai, Census Outreach Coordinator for Erie County. Michelle, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you, Jessica, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share some information about the census.
Well, I went online prior to today's show and I found some fun facts from, again, the initial census, which was in 1790, again led by Thomas Jefferson. And what I found in 1790, the population was 3,900,000. And the last census, the population in the United States was 308 million. In 1790, there were 65 representatives in Congress, currently 435 representatives, and then also 650 U.S. Marshals and assistants recorded answers made on parchment and animal skins, which the times have definitely changed. So it's very interesting to see the evolution of the census.
Right. So this year in 2020, one of the big changes we'll see is people can respond to the census online. Mm-hmm. So that's much different than the horseback method that was initially used in 1790.
And I feel like with that, the accuracy is going to be just really, really great because I know I do everything on my tablet, or my iPad from banking. And so the fact that this is now online, I really feel like this gives everybody, every opportunity to fill it out just very quickly. And we're going to go through that. Right. And certainly there are other ways to do it, not electronically as well. But broken down, our census is extremely important for two main reasons: government representation, and there are benefits to our community. So I want to talk about our community first, and each person in Erie County, our community receives an average of $2,100 from federally funded programs. And can you touch on what some of those programs are where we would see, a gain, here locally from filling out the census?
Right. So locally, on average, we see $2,100 per person for each person counted in the census. That's per year for the next 10 years. And that comes back into our community for federally funded programs such as Medicare, Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP. It comes back into our schools for programs like free and reduced lunch, Head Start programs, Title I programming. We also see it for housing benefits and LIHEAP and utility benefits. So it touches upon many people, our friends, our neighbors, across our lifetimes, really from birth to senior citizens. So it's very important that everybody is counted.
I know in some of my recycling grants that I fill out, and I do get lots of money back from the state. Our population last in Millcreek was 53,515. I have it memorized. I fill it out so often.
Yeah.
And again, some of my funding is dependent on what the population of Millcreek is. So it's very, very important, again, to us here locally as well, that's an accurate count. Right. The next thing I want to move on to is why an accurate census count is important for fair representation in government.
Right. So when the U.S. Constitution was drafted, the original reason for including the process of counting everybody, of having a census in there, was for congressional representation. So, and that still remains very important today. Here in Pennsylvania, we've lost 3 congressional seats based on our count since 2000. And we're in range of losing a 4th seat based on our 2020 count. So it's really important that we have everybody counted so we ensure our fair share of representation. And we want to make sure that our voice on that national stage is heard and we're represented fairly.
Absolutely. And is it mandatory for households to fill out the census?
So it is mandated by the U.S. Constitution, and most importantly, it's part of our civic duty. You know, it's our responsibility to ensure that everybody is counted for our community, for our state, and to make sure everybody again is represented.
Absolutely, and I feel the same way about the census that I do about voting. If you want to have your say, you need to, you know, participate in things like this.
Right.
Who should be counted in the 2020 census form?
So when you get your census form, you should include anybody who is living in your house most of the time, and that includes newborns, that includes anybody who might be staying with you temporarily that isn't counted elsewhere, that includes non-relatives. Anybody who is in your house most of the time should be included on your census form.
Okay, and there's a group of maybe special living situations. So I'm thinking college students, service members, maybe family members who are temporarily in a nursing home, correctional facilities. What should people do, or where should people be counted who fall into that special category?
Right. So the Census Bureau will do a special count called group quarters count for anybody who's living in those special circumstances, which includes everybody you mentioned and college students living in dormitories as well. And those people will be counted where they reside on April 1st. And the Census Bureau will work with those programs and agencies to ensure everybody who's located in those programs are counted accurately.
And what if you're planning a move? You're moving, you know, out of Pennsylvania, or just you're planning on moving. What should you do then?
That's a really good question. So everybody will start receiving forms, or should have received forms on March 12th, between March 12th and March 20th. You can respond with where you're living immediately, but it should be where you reside most of the time, or if it's an even split, where you were on April 1st.
Okay.
That's the address you should use.
Wonderful. And what is the time frame for getting everybody counted?
Right. So our count will have started in mid-March. That's when the census form has gone live, and we have until the end of July 31st, to ensure that everybody has responded. So we are hoping that everybody self-responds initially using the online method or the touch-tone phone method, because after that, we'll start seeing census workers come door to door.
Okay, and I want to remind everybody, we did put it on the Millcreek Township calendar in each of the months, March, April, May, June, July. So there are plenty of reminders, again, hopefully hanging on your fridge to fill out the 2020 census. And you just touched on it again, 2020 census is online for the very first time, but mention one more time, if you're not maybe a tech person, you don't want to use your tablet or your phone, what are those other methods in which people can respond?
Right, if somebody doesn't want to go online and respond, they can also respond using a touch-tone phone, or they can wait and a paper copy of the survey will come to their mailbox. And if they don't respond one of those three ways, they can expect that a census taker will come to their door, knock on their door, and help them complete the survey. Those people will have iPhones, and they'll be able to collect the data that way.
Okay, and it's my understanding that the questions, of course, have evolved over time that are on the census, but there are only honestly a very few number of questions on the census. What are those questions?
Right, so every census form will have the same 9 questions. In the past, people were kind of, they might get a long form or a short form. Everybody gets the same 9 questions for the 2020 census. They include questions such as your name, your telephone number. They want to know the age, the race, and the gender of everybody living in your household. And that's really it. They're not very invasive questions. And it should only take households about 10 minutes to complete the forms. So
wonderful. And unfortunately, scams are everywhere in today's day and age.
Right.
What will the 2020 census, if you think you've received something, by email, or you've received something in the mail, what will they never ask you for?
It's important for people to know that the Census Bureau will never ask for their Social Security number. The 2020 census form does not include any questions that relate to finances, bank account information, or anything like that. So if there are questions that seem invasive regarding your personal information, financial, or your Social Security number, people should contact their local law enforcement agency and make them aware of the situation, and
wonderful.
Be handled that way.
Okay, good. And information is safeguarded. So I know, again, we just are all very, very protective of our information, because people can, use it and, again, steal money or other things like that. So how is the information safeguarded once you fill it out?
Right, so the Census Bureau takes all the information that they get and they immediately separate any identifying information. When they're releasing statistics, they're kind of combining your non-identifying information with other people's. And your identifying information is protected. It cannot be compelled to be shared with ICE, the Department of Homeland Security. Not even the President of the United States can compel the Census Bureau to share identifying information. So that's true up until 72 years. There's a 72-year rule clause in there. And after 72 years, the Census Bureau will release that information for purposes of genealogical research. So if you go and research your family tree, you can find census data from 72 years and beyond.
Yes, I have done that, and it was very, very interesting to see, again, the questions that were asked. I found out a lot of neat information about, again, where my family members who have passed, where they were living, how much education they had, but the census has greatly changed. So some of those questions, again, aren't going to be on there.
Right.
How can a U.S. Census Bureau employee who is going door to door, how can they be recognized and you feel very confident that this is somebody who is supposed to be here asking those questions?
Right. So that's important for people to know that this person is somebody that they can trust works for the Census Bureau. Census Bureau employees will have an identification card with them that signifies who they are. They will also carry a briefcase that says U.S. Census Bureau on it. If anybody has any questions about somebody coming to their door, they can go online to the Census Bureau website, which is 2020census.gov. And there is a way to insert somebody's first and last name and verify that they are a Census Bureau employee.
Oh, that's fantastic. There is a special effort being put forth locally, again through your office, to make sure that everybody is counted. What kind of things are happening?
Right, so we're very excited. The Census Outreach Project here in Erie County has their own YouTube channel. You can find it by looking up Erie County Census Outreach on YouTube. On there you'll find informational videos as well as PSA-style videos that are created by local people, recognizable faces. And they include multi-language informational videos. So we're very excited about that. We are also renting some iPads and hosting events where people can come and complete the census while they're there, experience some entertainment, complete the census, and have the opportunity to ask any questions they might have about the census process.
Okay, and for a long time, again, in the very beginning, I remember there was a large push for hiring and to hire individuals to work for the census. Is that still happening? Do you need people in the middle of the census and at the end of the census?
Right, so the Census Bureau will continue to hire people throughout the process of gathering people's data. Those jobs are flexible part-time positions. They pay $16 an hour. And anybody who's interested can apply online at 2020census.gov/jobs.
Okay. And Michelle, our show is just about coming to a close, but are there any final thoughts that you want to leave our viewers with today regarding all of the work that you have put in towards, again, making everybody feel very comfortable answering the census?
Sure. I think it's most important for people to know that the census, the money from this that we get back into our community from the census follows the numbers, not the need. So in our community, we know we have a need for a lot of the programs we talked about, Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, free and reduced lunch programming. But if we don't have an accurate count, then we won't get the funding that our community needs to put those programs together in a robust way.
Okay. Michelle, where can viewers get more information? Is there a website, phone number that we can contact?
Sure. I encourage anybody who wants more information about the census to go to 2020census.gov. There is a wealth of information right there on the Census Bureau's website. They also have a Facebook page where they are putting out informational videos all the time. You can also check out our local YouTube page. That's Erie County Census Outreach on YouTube.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us here today. And again, it's really put my mind at ease, and not that I had any doubt that I would fill out the census, but you just want to make sure all of your information is secure when you're doing something like this. So thank you for taking the time and sharing that with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jessica, for the opportunity.
Viewers, we really can shape our future by taking the 2020 census. The 2020 census will determine congressional representation and play a large role in our community. So I want you to keep a lookout for that initial postcard in the mail asking you to get online to take your census. But again, there are certainly other means to do so: paper format, telephone format, or in person. So I want to thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. And until next time, have a great day.